was fishing by a river bend, line in the water and bottle in his hand. Said the current's wrong, said the fish ain't right. The full moon last week just threw him off by. I said, man, you've been here half of the day. Sun came up and it done slid away. Maybe pack it in and try again tomorrow. He said, you don't know the shape of this water. He stood right up, kicked over his gear, spooked every fish for a mile from here. Turned a quiet morning to a holler to a possum. I said, boy, you ain't right. You'd argue with a possum. Down at the river with the broken down boat, dance wore up and down that the thing would float. I said the hull split clean, she's taking on fast. He said that's just the water from the rain that's past. Boat dipped low, then it gave a sigh, slipped straight under if you could blink an eye. He stood there soaking, still blaming the bottom. I said, Jesus man, you'd argue with a possum. Oh, I met him again at the public ramp, back in that trailer like a twisted clam. Said the tire's fine, said the hitch is true, holding jackknife like it was meant to do. He bumped that fender near, tore it loose, still blamed the gravel and called it abuse. Cussed that ramp like a double cross him. I said, you ain't no use, you'd argue with a possum. Evening fell, the lines went still, light on a quiet hill. We sat there watching water go black, crickets singing in the timber back. A man might find some peace out here if he let things be just once a year. He broke that fire like he quit. Peace don't come if you don't fight it. Old Dan was sitting on a 5-gallon pail, casting all the rocks where the ships don't sail. I said the fish were deep cause the pressure fell. Said he read it right by the way it smelled. He swapped out lures 3 times in a row, talked the whole time like he already knowed. Line came back clean, not a bite to cross him. I said, man alive, you'd argue with a possum. Old Dan was waiting where the willows lean, stringer dragging low, saying water's clean. Said the dam was wrong, said the level's off, said the country boys don't know nothing at all. He kicked that shallows and muddied it up, spooked every ripple in the little cut, blamed the lake like a double cross him. I said, Lord, you'd argue with a possum. Well, last I saw Dan by the edge of the dam, talking to himself with a bowl in his hand. Wind laid down and the water went flat, not a soul around but him and that. He said the lake don't never play fair, don't give a man what he's putting in there. I tipped my hat, didn't say a word to him, there ain't no use, he'd argue with the possum.